This is the Exploring Ireland podcast, a local's guide to the best of Ireland. Today we're visiting County Donegal, where rugged landscapes and world-class beaches meet vibrant local heritage and places of historical significance. It's a great destination for all ages and all budgets. Welcome to Exploring Ireland. In today's episode, our destination is County Donegal. Our resident travel expert, Fionn Davenport, is here with his top advice on where to stay, where to eat and where to visit, and we have great insights from local guides with their top tips and must-visit suggestions. Each episode of Exploring Ireland delves into a different area of Ireland and explores the best places to experience on your stay with valuable insights from locals. In our whistle-stop tour around County Donegal, we'll not only highlight the must-see attractions, but also some hidden gems. Whether you're an adventure seeker looking for hiking trails or a history buff eager to explore ancient sites, Donegal has something to offer everyone. Joining us today are Anne-Marie Walsh.
Thanks, Dan. I'll be exploring Glenveigh National Park, Castle and Gardens and Fort Dunree Military Museum.
And Daragh O'Sullivan.
And I'm sharing all you need to know about outdoor pursuits in Donegal, including around Malin Head, and we visit a folk village museum and heritage centre.
And I'm your host, Dan McDermott. Also joining us is award-winning travel writer and broadcaster Fionn Davenport, who'll share with us his tips and knowledge of the county.
Hey Dan, good to be here.
Good to have you back again, Fionn. And tell us, what makes Donegal different? Why do we want to head northwest rather than elsewhere?
Okay, well, first of all, Donegal, I would call it the wild child of Ireland, isolated in the northwestern corner and all the better for it. It's home to some of the most ravishingly sublime scenery you will find anywhere on the island. It's got gorgeous beaches, incredible mountains, beautiful landscapes. It can be very desolate at times, particularly in the dead of winter. I've been going to Donegal since I was a little kid, and I've never ever lost that feeling that as you cross the border into Donegal, all of a sudden you're just like, oh God, this is just gorgeous. It's an interesting place. It's the only county in Ireland that doesn't have a rail link. So you can't get there by train, and you certainly can't get around by train. The bus network is okay between the main towns, and it's both public and private providers. But really, this is a county that you're really going to need a car to get around in. You can fly to Donegal, believe it or not. There's an airport in Carrickfinn, which has been voted the world's most scenic airport every year since 2020. So you've got this 1.5 kilometre runway that runs down the middle of this really narrow headland, and it's flanked on either side by these white sand beaches. It really is a spectacular. And unfortunately, the only places that it flies to and from is Dublin and Glasgow.
So it's a personal episode, and once you're there, you won't want to leave. But maybe getting there is difficult, and maybe getting out of there is also difficult.
I don't think it's as difficult as it once was, certainly as it was when I was a kid. So the motorway network means that what used to be like a 4.5 hour torment of a journey from Dublin is now 3.5 hours of pretty smooth going on motorways for the most part until you get to Donegal, and then the roads are narrower. But the reward for narrower roads is scenery. It's just everywhere you go you're looking left and right. Now it's important to keep your eye on the road, but it's so easy to be distracted by just how absolutely gorgeous Donegal is.
Well, there's lots more of that on the way, so stick with us and we will tell you how to get around, what you can do, where you can eat and drink, and what you can see. Fionn will be back in a few minutes to tell us about some top places for food and drink in Donegal. But first, here's Anne-Marie Walsh with a guide to some of the region's most popular attractions to include in your itinerary.
Donegal is a fantastic county for those who enjoy the great outdoors, and Glenveigh National Park is an idyllic destination where you'll find a storybook castle, beautiful views, a lake and vast areas of parklands to explore. So I spoke to a local expert for all of the details.
My name is Mary Daly and I am the Tourism Development Officer for Donegal County Council and Donegal Tourism.
So Donegal is a very big county, and I asked Mary about where Glenveigh National Park is located and some of the highlights that you can see on a visit to the park.
So Glenveigh National Park, which is the second largest national park in Ireland, is situated 24 kilometres northwest of Letterkenny. It lies in the heart of Donegal, its wild and rugged landscape in the midst of the Daragh Mountains. There's also a castle. It's styled on a romantic Highland retreat. It was completed in 1873. You can also visit the beautiful gardens at Glenveigh. There is grassroots bike hire, so you can cycle. There's also lots of hiking trails because it extends over 16,000 hectares, including the Daragh Mountains, the Poison Glen, and also parts of Errigal Mountain.
Now, with a park of that size, I'm sure you could spend ages wandering around and taking it all in, because there's even an interpretive centre and an audio-visual presentation there too. So I asked Mary for some guidance about what's an ideal amount of time to allow for a visit to make sure that you see everything.
If you're just visiting the castle and the gardens and maybe the coffee shop, you would do it in maybe 2 hours. If you want to roam around past the castle over to the beautiful waterfall, take in some of the stunning scenery along Lough Veigh, you can spend hours and hours. So it really depends on what kind of a visit you want. If you're a nature lover, you could get lost there for hours on end.
There's no admission price to the park, which is a great thing. And during the year, they often have special events happening. So make sure to check out their website in advance of a visit. The link and all the details you'll need are in our show notes. And for anyone who loves history, it's a must visit too.
Glenveigh Castle itself has a tumultuous history from the Daragh evictions back in the late 1800s. The castle was completed in 1873 and it was styled in a kind of a romantic Highland type retreat in the middle of the mountains. Then it has changed hands many times over the years and subsequently bought in the middle of the 20th century by a famous American. He hosted many parties over the years there, people like Marilyn Monroe and John Wayne as dinner guests at the castle. Then the castle was handed over to the state. It's under the auspices of the National Parks and Wildlife Service. And people can now go in and explore the castle. You can enjoy the Gothic orangery, the Italian terrace, the Tuscan gardens, or you can walk around the pleasure gardens. And afterwards you can relax for lunch and some homemade cakes, and there are lovely tea rooms in the courtyard.
Overall, the reviews for the park are really, really good. It's recommended as a beautiful spot to spend a few hours in, or even the day if you can spare it. It's peaceful and it's ideal for getting out into nature. Overall, really positive reviews. There are a couple of negatives that you should keep in mind. They're generally due to external factors, like you might get bitten by insects while you're there, so make sure to bring some repellent with you, and do keep an eye on the weather forecast to ensure that you get a really clear day to maximise all of the views. And here's Mary, because I asked her for her top tip if you're going for a visit.
My top tip if you were to visit Glenveigh Castle and National Park is hire a bike. At the entrance car park, there's bike hire. Hire a bike, cycle along the lake, take in the stunning views of the Daragh Mountains, Lough Veigh, enjoy the castle, enjoy the gardens, but then go on past the castle and gardens. A lot of people only go as far as the castle and gardens and never go any further, but there's loads to see past the castle. There's trails, you go up along the lake, you see the beautiful waterfall, or go up to the viewing point and look down on the whole valley.
Before we move on to our next attraction, Mary has a really fascinating little piece of history about Glenveigh.
Go and check out their swimming pool. They were really ahead of their time. They have the first outdoor heated swimming pool in Ireland. The swimming pool, underneath it, there's a big fire, and they used to light the fire to heat the water. It's definitely something to go down and look at. It's just on the edge of the lake.
Moving from one of Donegal's top attractions to another now, that history buffs and those interested in the military are just going to love. About an hour and a half away from the national park is Fort Dunree on the Inishowen Peninsula. I asked Mary to tell me all about its history.
The story of Fort Dunree dates back to the late 1700s, and it was established as a British outpost looking over the Swilly, and it was against the threat of a Napoleonic invasion. Fort Dunree in Irish indicates the fourth of the heather, so it has been a very significant defensive site through history. Today, its stunning beauty and abundant wildlife draw increasing numbers every year to go and see Fort Dunree. Apart from the museum, there's really nice walks and trails. You can kayak at the foot of the cliff in through the caves if you're the adventure type. You can even go in and have a dip in the crystal clear waters of the Swilly. Loch Swilly is one of only 3 glacial fjords in Ireland.
Reviews for Fort Dunree, they rave about the spectacular location on a cliff edge overlooking the Atlantic Ocean, so the views are to die for. Visitors absolutely love its historical significance. Now, if you are intending to park there, parking can be limited at busy times, and due to its location, you might need to be mindful of accessibility. Mary tells me that even though Fort Dunree is a must visit for people who love military memorabilia, it is also a great destination for all ages and interests.
And the Military Museum, it's a step back in time. There's lots of military memorabilia from the First World War, the Civil War, from the Second World War, and a photographic and information exhibition, which takes you through all the eras of the fort and how important it was in terms of its strategic location at the mouth of the Swilly, looking at from the late 1700s, about the Napoleonic Wars, right down through the different world wars up to the present. Fort Dunree was used by the Irish Defence Forces as a barrack until before it was opened as a visitor attraction from 1986. So it played a significant part in our defensive history. You also have the Saldanha Suite, which houses a wildlife discovery room, art exhibitions, also a virtual reality experiences which takes you through our marine history in Donegal. You can view examples of military equipment, uniforms, the insignias from other nations who served alongside the Irish soldiers. And then if you want to teach a child our maritime history, the VR experiences that are available now over in the Saldanha Suite. You know, there's one of them where you're the actual parrot on board the captain as they sail out past the Swilly in Donegal in the 1800s. It's very interesting. So I would say yes, it caters for all ages.
Tickets for a visit to Fort Dunree start for adults around €9, children are €7, and family tickets are €17, which can be booked directly on their website. See the link in our show notes.
As ever, thanks Anne-Marie Walsh. But back to you, Mr. Davenport. Good places to eat and drink in the county. Let's call it the budget to the blowout, the catch of the day by the seaside to the 5-star restaurant.
Sure, Dan. Oddly enough, for a long, long time, Donegal, which is surrounded virtually on 3 sides by the sea, didn't do an awful lot with the natural bounty at its disposal. But that's all changed in the last decade and a half. So you get like a range of food, from the chippy van that shows up in the village after the pubs have closed to like a sit-down extravagant meal and some of the most beautiful surroundings you'll find. Like in Donegal town. So the Old Castle Bar, which is just off the Diamond, has some of the best food in the area at really reasonable prices. So it'd be classed as mid-range. If you want something like really kind of basic, Simple Simon's, also in Donegal town, or this is quite cosy and definitely one for the locals. It's called the Blueberry Tea Room, which is this lovely cafe in the heart of Donegal town. And really kind of basic food, very kind of plain, but really, really well made. Now, for seafood, so virtually every village and town dotting the coastline will have its fair share of the catch of the day. But so in Killybegs, I love this place. It's called the Seafood Shack. So it's on the pier, and it is reputed to have the best fish and chips in all of Ireland, not just Donegal, all of Ireland.
I'll get the car.
It's a bold claim, but it's a claim that really stands up to taste.
We do have to investigate now that you've said it.
For example, there's also, if you want something a little fancier in Killybegs, there's Anderson's Boathouse restaurant, or as well, there's the Marina Cafe. Again, this is something you don't often see. Really, really good homemade tartar sauce.
Okay.
Like really nice. I don't know if you like tartar sauce in your fish and chips. For me, it's absolute must.
It's a must.
Yeah. And so then further on up the coast, now Ardra is a highlight for me for a bunch of reasons. It's the home of Tweed manufacturing in Donegal. Nancy's Bar does an amazing seafood chowder. It's also a great bar. So if you want that classic kind of Donegal bar, cosy nights, bit of a fire. And Nancy's, it's an old-fashioned pub that actually used to be a house. So it's the house or the pub inside the house. There's Doherty's Bar, which is really, really good. And it has music. And also it's really good pizza. There's Sheila's Coffee and Cream, which is a nice little cafe. But if I had to pick one place in the entire county that I would drive hours to go to, it's called the Old Glen Bar. And it's just north of Glenveigh. And it's in the middle of nowhere. You have to punch the code or the coordinates into your sat-nav, and it'll bring you. It's at the edge of a corrie lake, surrounded by mountains, and it's this old traditional bar that when you approach and you go, okay, this doesn't seem like much but a traditional old pub. And you go through the pub, which is tiny and old-fashioned and gorgeous, and definitely you want to have a couple of pints there if you can. Go to the back, and there is an amazing restaurant, one of the best I've ever been to in Ireland. And this is where you have everything from really well. It's Bib Gourmand, so it's Michelin rated. Wow. It's exceptional. Now, because Donegal is Donegal, you're going to eat like a 5-star meal for 3.5-star prices. Okay. And that's the real advantage. It's not cheap by Donegal standards, but it's worth every bit of the effort.
After speaking so passionately, we have to know, what would you choose from the menu?
The catch of the day is always amazing, but oftentimes I like lamb. If it's in season, lamb. Lamb is amazing.
Daragh is here to tell us about great outdoor pursuits in Donegal, in Malin Head and more. And we'll look at Glenculmkill Folk Village Museum and Heritage Centre.
Thanks, Dan. We talked to Henry Doohan, a Donegal tour guide, about outdoor pursuits around Malin Head, which, by the way, is Ireland's northernmost point and renowned for amazing coastal scenery and clean beaches. Plus, we visit a folk village, museum and heritage centre.
Glenculmkill Folk Village is one of the oldest attractions here in the county. It was founded back in 1967 by Father James McDermott, and the idea of it was to try and recreate the old way of living in one of the most remote villages in County Donegal.
So what can you see in Glenculmkill Folk Village?
So when you go to visit there, you can step back in time and you will see plenty of old thatched cottages similar to the styles that people used to live there back in the 17, even 1800s. You'll see the schoolhouse there, the grocers, the old pub. It's a great place for families, young and old, to go. I have often seen kids who just love to see the old way of living. They can't believe that people used to live in these thatched cottages. People love to see what they imagine the old Ireland, similar to what they would have seen in maybe The Quiet Man.
I think listeners would be interested in whether it's a guided tour or a self-guided tour.
When you visit Glenculmkill Folk Village, it's a guided tour during the summertime or self-guided most of the other time. You give them a little guide, but you can step around all of the little villages. There's a little collection of houses there, Claffin as they're known in Gaelic. So you can step into each of the houses and see what house number 1 would look like from possibly the 1800s. House number 2 could have been the schoolhouse. So you can look to figure out what the way of life is.
What else can we see when we're there?
If you're looking to have something to eat there, they've got a fantastic tea house and they serve some of the most delicious homemade soups there and also home baking. During summertime, they may have live performances of music and dance there. So it's good to phone ahead just to check in the summertime to see if there's any live events happening.
Tell us a little bit more about where it is.
Most people, when they visit County Donegal, they'll end up in Donegal town, which is the main tourist town in the south of the county. So Glenculmkill is just an hour's drive west from Donegal town. It's a great stop after you've visited the Slieveleague Cliffs to venture on further west to one of the most remote villages in County Donegal. And it's just about 10-20 minutes from the Slieveleague Cliffs. When you visit Glenculmkill, you can see just how remote and rugged it is with the wide Atlantic crashing against the waves. It's a very isolated little village, and you can only imagine how hard it would have been for the people there who would have, most of them, been venturing around in the bare feet, perhaps, with no boots or shoes, and how difficult it would have been to venture to the larger towns by a donkey and cart or by foot.
How did all this come about? So who and how was it founded?
In 1967, Father James McDermott was relocated to that area, and he struggled to get electricity to the people there because there was no electricity, there was no water as well. And when he founded the electricity and water plants there, he realized that people needed an occupation. So that is when he set up the folk village there. So it is a very self-reliant typical area. The people used to grow their own produce there and sell it in a co-op. Most of the people in Donegal were self-sufficient at the time. So their supermarket was the waves crashing up onto the shore. That gave them fish, shellfish, seaweed. So they would have been eating carrigan moss. They would have been collecting the seaweed off the ground for fertilizer. So they would have been very self-reliant in that area. Also producing buttermilk for their home baking and soups and things like that. So Father James McDyer wanted to try and preserve this way of living in the folk village when he created it way back in 1957.
One of the questions that comes up the most, I think, is when is the best time to visit?
Every time is a great time to visit Glencolmkill Folk Village. It will be open from after Easter up until probably October time. It really just depends on the Donegal tourist season. When the weather is better, it's nicer to visit there because you're in and out of the little houses, so you may get wet when you're walking in and out. But it's also good to phone ahead to see if there's a cruise ship, because on the days they have cruise ships, they will also have live music as well.
Amazing. Tell us a little bit more about Malin Head, the area in general, and what else can we do when we're there?
So at Malin Head, there's plenty of opportunities for people to explore through all of the many walking trails there. There's also sea charters around the coastline there. Some of them will even go out to Innistrahall, which is a small little uninhabited island off the coast of Donegal. Probably one of the oldest rocks in Ireland even, 1.78 billion years old. There's even people who will offer rock climbing, and you can even climb out on the area where they filmed the latest Star Wars trilogy in 2016. One of the newest and the most popular attractions in the Malin Head area is Wild Alpaca Way. And this is an opportunity to go walking around the headlands of Malin with some alpacas. It's a very therapeutic way of walking around. You get the sea breeze coming in from the water, you get the salty air as well, and you've got your own personal alpaca to make as well.
Our thanks as ever to Daragh, and a great guest he had with him this week. Fionn, what else do you recommend in County Donegal? What would you do if you were there?
How much time do you have, Dan?
We've got enough time.
So up round the kind of northwest of Donegal, like Malin and Fannet Head are sublime. There's another headland nearby called Hornhead, and the village there, Dunfanaghy, is for me the prettiest of the villages along that stretch of coast, and well worth going to. It's got lovely accommodation, good food, etc. But in the southwest of the county, earlier on you're talking about Glencolmkill. So near Glencolmkill are Slieve League, which are sea cliffs. And whereas the Cliffs of Moher in County Clare get all of the tourism attention, Slieve League, the cliffs there are taller. They're bigger. They're in fact the tallest sea cliffs in all of Europe. Wow. And they're spectacular. There's wonderful hikes up around the cliffs, but at Teelin, which is the nearby port, you can board a boat that takes you out and you can see the sea cliffs from the sea.
I'd love that.
And that's really, really special as well. I love Ardra. Ardra is again another very handsome village. I talked about Nancy's Bar in Ardra, but if you're going to buy tweed or any kind of Irish woolens, Ardra is the unofficial capital of tweed. Certainly for Donegal tweed, it's the capital, but you won't find better made tweed anywhere in the country. It's traditional makers who've been doing it for a very long time. I would also go to Glenveigh National Park. That's, I think, probably the most spectacular spot of a county that is just jam-packed with spectacular spots.
So your plans have been cancelled. You've got this last-minute opportunity to go to Donegal. Is that the one thing you'd do?
Yeah, for me, Glenveigh was definitely the one. Now, this is the second largest national park in Ireland. This wonderful collection of lakes overlooked by these brooding dark mountains. It's got valleys that are kind of literally scooped out in the earth, and it's got forest, bog. It's got everything, all Irish landscapes, all collected within this national park. And at the heart of it is Glenveigh House. And also as well, there's a great historical attachment to it is that the landlord, George Adair, in the 1840s, he evicted all of his tenants because he wanted a better view from the house. And it's like a real tragedy of Ireland. And the story is told in brilliant detail. So you get a real sense of what it was like for the farmers working the land, nearly 200 years ago, and the troubles that they had. And then you compare it and contrast it to the serenity of just going for a walk in the national park. I would recommend this as not just my favourite thing to do in Donegal, but I think it's one of the most amazing things you can do on any visit to Ireland is just spend some time in Glenveigh. You could spend the entire day easily between walks, visiting the house, studying some history. There's lovely tea rooms there. It really is. It's kind of an for all seasons experience.
I can imagine as well with the isolation, it kind of magnifies the grandness of the wilderness. It sounds like a wonderful place to be.
Yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. And if you catch it on a fine day, there's no finer place to be on earth.
It sounds like heaven.
Oh, Dan, it really, really is. And I forgot to mention also, the park is home to the largest herd of red deer in Ireland, and also the golden eagle, which was hunted to extinction in the 19th century, but 2 pairs were reintroduced to the park in 2001. And so you have a fairly small but key, I don't know, they call it a flock or whatever, right, of golden eagles. The only ones you will find in Ireland.
Amazing. And I'm sure I've read so much before about the reintroduction of species and how they can shape and change the wilderness back to how the ecosystem should work. Now, in terms of our own ecosystem, we've had a beautiful day out in Glenveigh National Park. We're going to be tired. Where do we put our head down?
Well, one of the things about Donegal is that there is no shortage of places to stay. Like everything from your basic B&Bs and guest houses to like historic heritage hotels, grand country houses. There's really well-equipped hostels throughout, and some in like these spectacular bits of scenery. Like there's this wonderful hostel overlooking the Poison Glen. Again, a piece of spectacular scenery, and the Anoiga hostel just overlooks the valley. It really is one of the most spectacular settings you could get. So I'm going to name just some couple of places that are really standout. So Castle Murray, okay, so this is overlooking the ruins of McSweeney's Castle, which is from the 15th century. It's not really a castle, but a boutique hotel in a really beautiful beach house. And so it's just like maybe 2 kilometres south of Dunkeneely, so just east of Killybegs, where we had our seafood in the seafood shack. Rathmullen House is a grand and elegant country house. This is really big, luxurious, really well decorated inside. It has 34 bedrooms, each with a balcony or a terrace. There's tennis courts, 2 bars, restaurants, so everything you'd expect. So near the Doa Famine Village, on Malin Head, there's a place called Glen House. Now, despite the grand surroundings and the luxury, this is one of the most unpretentious, low-priced places to stay you will find. It's a real kind of hidden gem, if you will. It's really kind of a lesson in restrained sophistication. Like where oftentimes in Irish bed and breakfast, the more means more is often very doily. This is no, it's all very pared back, but all the better for it. I would also mention in Loch Esk Hotel, which is just outside Donegal town, which is the only, if I'm correct here, is the only 5-star accommodation in the county, and often a winner of best 5-star hotel in Europe. It has won that award at least 2 occasions that I know of in the last 10 years or so. It's a really beautiful kind of 19th century castle hotel converted into this wonderfully elegant property with grounds and all of the resultant services that you'd expect from a 5-star hotel.
So something for every budget.
Absolutely.
And a view to match no matter where you are. And given that we have said about the transport links, you could probably do maybe 1 or more stays in 1 or more of those places that you mentioned.
Absolutely. I mean, Donegal is a big enough county and the driving can be slow, but you want it to be slow.
And it can be enjoyable.
And because there's so much scenery to take in. But you can, if you start, depending on how you approach the county, if you're coming up from Sligo, you're going to come into Donegal town and then head to the Slieve League. Or if you come in through the north, you might come in and go up through Letterkenny and then go up the north coast, go up to Malin Head or Fannet Head and so on. So depending on which way you go, but like you can do a proper tour of Donegal, picking a place to stay each night, and then the drive during the day. You don't want to drive for hours and hours and hours, but a couple, 2.5, 3 hours a day tops really will give you the very best of what the county has to offer.
We also asked our local experts, Mary Daly, Tourism Development Officer with Donegal County Council, and local tour guide Henry Dugan for their top suggestions on their one thing not to miss in the county. And we also have special guest journalist and travel writer Yvonne Redden to tell us about how she discovered Donegal and what her must-visit location is in the county.
My name's Yvonne Redden and I'm a freelance journalist and I also am a travel writer. And I mainly write about travelling solo with my twins. Annie is absolutely beautiful. So I would tell people to go there for the day and spend it on the beach and Dunfanny village. And you can go to Ard's Forest Park, which is near Creasla. And that is an incredible place to visit. And Sheephaven Bay is not too long a drive. But I really base myself on Dunfanny and then I go off and drive around. Hornhead Loop is in Dunfanny as well. And in my opinion, it's very nicer than Malin Head. And you can do a beautiful drive for 2-3 hours, or you can just drive from Dunfanny and up to the Hornhead. The viewpoint up there is spectacular. I'll never forget driving along and seeing the beautiful Mount Errigal view in front of me. It was incredible. So for me, it's the area and the town of Dunfanny. It's just something special. And you've got the most beautiful beaches. You've got walks. The people are so friendly in the town. Port na Blah Beach, we did bodyboarding there. We hired suits from Dunfanny and just spent the day at the beach. The sunsets are incredible. I love the beaches and I love discovering hidden beaches like Murderhole Beach. It's really off the beaten track. It's in Sheephaven Bay. And to get over to Murderhole Beach, you've got to climb over sand dunes and go past cows and through fields. But my kids will never stop going on about sliding down the sand dunes on Murderhole Beach. Fanad Lighthouse, you can stay there. Oh, you can even go in and stay there overnight. And near Fanad Lighthouse is the Great Pollard Sea Arch. And it's like something out of the Goonies movie. It's this big, huge arch and you can walk down to it. It's only a few minutes from Fanad. It's amazing. It's like something from a pirate movie.
One of the newest and the most popular attractions in the Malin Head area is Wild Alpaca Way. And this is an opportunity to go walking around the headlands of Malin with some alpacas. It's a very therapeutic way of walking around. You get the sea breeze coming in from the water. You get the salty air as well. And you've got your own personal alpaca to make as well.
The rugged cliffs at Slieve League are spectacular. I like to view them from the base up. But if you take in Paddyburn, both trips, and visit Slieve League, it's so spectacular because you're looking up and it's just the vastness of them. At their highest point, they're 3 times the height of the Cliffs of Moher. Also, Paddyburn, he's one of these legendary characters. When you go out on the boat trip with him, there's no two boat trips ever the same. You can swim around the base of the cliffs. You can enjoy Paddyburn stories. I can't explain until people actually meet him, but he is, I suppose, what sums up Donegal, that warmth, that wit, and just he's a real character. It's an experience in itself.
Thanks for listening to Exploring Ireland. Find out more and check out our show notes and links to everything you heard about today. It's all in the episode description, or you can go to exploringireland.co. Make sure you subscribe and follow us because in future episodes we'll be showcasing the best attractions and destinations from all over Ireland with the help of local experts. Helping us out in this episode and exploring Donegal County, we've had award-winning travel writer and broadcaster and Lonely Planet author Fionn Davenport sharing his tips and knowledge, and we were chatting to Mary Daly. We also chatted to Donegal tour guide Henry Duhan and journalist Yvonne Redmond, and our guides were Anne-Marie Walsh and Daragh O'Sullivan. I'm Dan McDermott, your host, and as we're exploring Ireland together, remember to follow, subscribe and like our episodes so others can find us and join us again soon.